That's a running theme in a lot of the Laurel and Hardy films, is the fear of the wife. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. We're under the Laurel and Hardy box set once again, and this one is Love 'Em and Weep, and this is a short film from 1927, again on the theme of blackmail. This is a silent comedy, and honestly I've not seen many of the silent films of Laurel and Hardy, so I went into this one with fresh eyes. And I know what you're thinking, you need to wear glasses, your eyes aren't that fresh. Right, only a minute or so into the film, I realised that this film is the one that Chickens Come Home was based on. We open up in a scene with Stanley and the fantastic James Finlayson. Finlayson plays the master of business in this one, which is the role that Oliver would end up playing in Chickens Come Home. Stanley is his business partner in this one. It's important to remember that some of the films in this box set were from before Stan and Ollie teamed up as a partnership. So at this point I wasn't even sure if we were going to see Oliver in this film. But a woman turns up from the past and she's going to blackmail Finlayson with photographs. The photographs are them hanging out at the beach in bathing suits, but in the film they play it as if it's the most scandalous photos ever. Finlayson, he offers to meet her at 7 o'clock that evening to make a settlement. Just then Stanley races in to let Finlayson know that his wife has arrived in the office. Panicked, he pushes the woman into the bathroom behind his office. His wife informs him she's invited a judge and his wife to dinner that evening. There's a near miss when she goes in to use the bathroom to wash her hands, but obviously she gets out to fit the girl seeing, or her seeing the girl, I should say. Before she leaves, she notices there's a fur that Finlayson's been hiding down the back of his trousers, which belongs to the blackmailer, but he gets out of trouble by saying that it's a present for his wife. Content, she leaves. Finlayson tells the blackmailer, the deal's off, I can't meet you tonight. The blackmailer tells him, you'll be there at 7 or you'll be on ice at 8. Panicked, Finlayson, he tells Stanley, right, you're going to go tonight. Meet her at 7, keep her occupied so I can go to this dinner with the wife and the judge. I'll get there later. But Stanley, he's worried about the wife. His own wife, how's he going to get around it? But Finlayson threatens to sack him if he doesn't do it. That's a running theme in a lot of the Laurel and Hardy films, is the fear of the wife. That's caused so much trouble in so many situations that they get themselves into trouble just because they're scared of actually, and like a lot of the situations they get themselves into in these films would be no problem whatsoever if they just said to the wife, this is happening and this is why this is happening. Might get out of it, but Laurel and Hardy, crazy world, scared of the waves, running theme, just the way it is. So we cut to the blackmailer's house later that evening. Stanley arrives to pick her up, but she's upset and she rings Finlayson's house and tells him to be at her place in 10 minutes or she'll come to his house. Outside the blackmailer's apartment building, Stanley is waiting for her. In his car he sees a friend of his wife's and tries to hide his face. She recognises him, questions him straight away because the wife told her that he was going to be working tonight. Stanley makes up an excuse saying that he's waiting for the boss. The blackmailer then comes out, gets into Stanley's car. Wife's friend sees her. It's not hard to know where this is going to go. But as Stanley goes to drive off, he accidentally reverses back into the busybody's car and completely demolishes it. There's no such thing as a slight dent in these films. Stanley does a brilliant slapstick fall down some stairs whenever he reaches the restaurant where he's taking this girl to meet Finlayson. The whole thing's going to be arranged. Awesome, so good. I've said it before in the Laurel and Hardy reviews, some of the stunts that are done in these films, I have absolutely no idea how they've done them, and literally just got straight up again from it, because you know, it's the majority of the stunts are done or were done by Stanley and Oliver themselves. Like there's only very rare occasions in these films, if you look really closely you can see like a stunt double, but you know, It's not unheard of, but the majority of the time they're doing their own stunts, and this slapstick fall down a set of steps is about maybe 10 to 12 steps high and straight to the bottom. Absolutely flipping brilliant. After they get into the restaurant, the blackmailer again rings Finlayson's house, but this time his wife answers. But the wife's only on the phone long enough to hear a woman's voice. Finlayson gets on the phone, leaving her suspicious. Stanley gets the phone off the blackmailer on the other end. He tells Finlayson, right, you're going to have to hurry. I'm losing control of this situation. Back at the restaurant, Stanley notices the old busybody friend of his wife's has followed him, and he's watching everything that's going on with this woman. He starts to panic. He knows she's going to go and tell the wife. Blackmailer loses patience with the whole thing, decides, right, I'm going to Finlayson's house to start trouble. Stanley can't stop her, but he gets to the phone, rings the warden, Finlayson what's going to happen. There's a brilliant scene where the blackmailer tries to get Stanley's car keys out of his pocket to start his car, which ends up with him rolling around the street in front of this old busybody again. As they leave, the old woman is off to inform Stanley's wife that he's out with another woman. Now that sequence of the blackmailer trying to get the keys out of Stanley's pocket and rolling around the streets, and he's getting tickled and he's laughing really hard, but at the same time he's in front of this woman, he's trying to, it's just a really awkward situation for him, but he's really laughing. But again, as I said at the start, this is a silent movie, and this scene would have played so much better if it had been recorded with sound. But as in a lot of Laurel and Hardy films, a perfect example of this one here is the blueprint for what later would become Chickens Come Home. This sequence was redone in Wild West, similar sort of circumstances, only in Wild West, Stanley is trying to hide a deed from Mae Busch, if memory serves, and she shoves her hand down inside his shirt, starts trailing and pulling, trying to get this deed out. Stanley starts laughing, and Stanley's one of these infectious laughs that just, if you're watching it, you'll just go into stitches listening to him. But as I say, the scene probably would have played a lot better if there had been sound, but it's a silent movie, not going to happen. Cut over to Finlayson's house. Blackmailer arrives, she busts in, Stanley chasing her, and Finlayson, panicking, introduces her as Stanley's wife. Now, the judge that Finlayson has been entertaining is none other than Oliver Hardy. It took me a little while to recognise him. He had in this film, he's got a big bushy moustache that's kind of covering the whole of his bottom half of his face. There's no bowler hats. The style is completely different. There's a lot of slicked back hair in this film. It's like parted in the middle. You can clearly see the mad part line up the middle of their heads, and they're kind of like in curtains to the side, but it's really gelled out. Just a style change enough to kind of hide his face, but obviously when I really looked at him, like he's only in the film about a minute and a half at the very most on screen. But as I say, a lot of these films are before they teamed up as a partnership, and at the end of the day, it's not unheard of for such a light disguise to hide someone. Like, here's an example for you. I'm Clark Kent. Now I'm Superman. Now I'm Clark Kent again. Best disguise ever. Right, back to the film again. I digress, I apologise. Earlier in the evening, when Stanley was at the blackmailer's house, he stole the incriminating photo, put it under his pocket, his coat pocket. But it's a fully framed photograph. But as he takes his coat off in the house, he drops it out on the floor. Before he can retrieve it, the judge actually lifts it, puts it onto the coffee table. The judge then thanks everybody for a nice evening. Finlayson's wife shows him to the door. Finlayson begs them, the blackmailer, like, leave or I'm going to shoot myself, pulls a gun out, and the blackmailer faints. Meanwhile, Stan's wife, she's been informed what's going on. She's out for blood. Finlayson and Stan try to get the unconscious blackmailer out of the house just as Stanley's wife's about to arrive. It's done exactly the same way as it would eventually be done when chickens come home, but we get to see more of the setup in this film. The film ends basically with Stan and Finlayson getting kicked around the yard by their wives, and even Oliver Hardy, as a judge, gets slapped by his wife for laughing at the whole situation. That's quite in-depth review of this film, and I'm pretty sure if you go back and watch my review for Chickens Come Home, it'll probably be a beat for beat, word for word, pretty much similar review to this one here, because this indeed is beat for beat what Chickens Come Home would eventually be whenever they re-shot it, and recorded it in sound. So that's very, very good. I would highly recommend it. For a rock and roll rating for this film, I'm going to have to give it I'll give it a great for this one. I'll not go as high up as awesome. It's a very good, very enjoyable film, but again, parts of it would have been better recorded in sound, and some of the stunts that were done similar to this one that would eventually be done in Chickens Come Home were done a lot better in Chickens Come Home. For example, when Stanley reverses the car back and demolishes the other car, it's done far better in Chickens Come Home. But by no means, that's not to say don't go see this. Definitely look it up, check it out, find it somewhere. I'm pretty sure it's probably free online to watch at this point. So yes, that's it for this review.